raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
Rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
They're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Guarding light in secret places, betrayed, broken, torn apart. Still the vow burns in the heart. Hidden voices, quiet prayer, scattered seeds still waiting there. In the shadows, time stood still, but the mission holds it always will. Nothing can stop what is coming. The fire, the thunder, the drumming. It's gonna be biblical, the final hour. Truth revealed in holy power. Through the decades they were called. Fathers, mothers gave their all. Wives and warriors, sons of flame, bearing witness in God's name. Quiet strength behind the veil, standing strong when others failed, waiting for the trumpet's cry. The army rises side by side. Nothing can stop what is coming. The fire, the thunder, the drumming. It's gonna be biblical, the final hour. Truth revealed in holy power. Through the storm, the veil will tear. Evil is coming.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well out there and had a great weekend and has been keeping up with what is going on in the world, because we are living in some absolutely crazy and tumultuous times. I love that word, tumultuous. We'll start out with this week, a few different things going on this week. I leave Wednesday morning for Nashville. We got GART, the Great American Restoration Tour, happening this week. So if you guys want to check that out, really easy to get involved with GART. You can go to redpills.tv and you go to the top and you just go to events. And so if you go to redpills.tv, you go to top, you go right over here, you go to events on the tab, and you'll see Badlands Media, the Great American Restoration Tour. And this is tour number 11, April 9th through April 12th, 2026. And yes, there's in-person tickets if you're going to be in and around the Nashville area or want to come out to the Nashville area. Or you can buy your virtual tickets right there. And you can watch everything that's going on. I will be on Friday and Sunday. So I have 2 or 3 panels I'm going to be on. I believe 2 are Friday and 1 is Sunday. So just keep that in mind if you are going out there. I will not be on any panels on Saturday, but I will be available. So I will be there. I'll be walking around. So if you're showing up Saturday, don't worry about seeing me on a panel, but you can meet me, talk to me, and we'll see about communicating when you guys get out there. So hopefully I get to see a bunch of you guys, meet a bunch of you guys out there. Looking forward to it. I'm driving to Nashville on Wednesday. I got to change my truck's oil tomorrow and get everything all set up. So it's going to be a long day for me. Then what about the Daily Dose, Josh? What about Wednesday through Friday with the Daily Dose? Right now, I'm expecting no show on Wednesday. Potentially Thursday and Friday, there is going to be a show. I'm going to try to do it from the hotel room. The biggest problem that I have when I go on trips like this and I'm speaking at events is that the internet at the hotels is garbage, absolute garbage. So it's very difficult sometimes to stream from a hotel room. But once I get there, I will know. I'm also taking my Starlink with me. So if I have kind of a balcony room, I can connect the Starlink. I might be able to do a show, or I can go downstairs to the lobby area and see what we can do in there. So I'm going to try my best to do shows Thursday and Friday. If I can't, possibly might get a host to join in for us. The problem is everybody is at the event that I'm going to. But if not, it's fine. We will figure something out as we go along. And what else have we got going on this week? Man, interesting time to be alive. So that's kind of the news right now. I have a Makeup Crypto Mastermind tomorrow for everybody out there in noon that's involved in my Crypto Mastermind. We're going to be doing that. Looking no guest appearances this week. Next week I'm on Coast to Coast AM. That's Thursday morning, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. That's gonna be a good conversation with George Norrie. Tomorrow, DEF CON 0. So that is still on for tomorrow night, DEF CON 0. Other than that, man, well, actually, you know what? I have to actually check on that because Alpha is going into Nashville a day early. He's leaving Tuesday. So there might not be a DEF CON tomorrow. I'm gonna have to follow back up with you guys on that one and double check on that, because I remember Alpha saying something to me about he was leaving Tuesday to Nashville. So I will figure that out and let you guys know. Man, I just want to get into the news. You guys ready to get in the news? So lots of things happening, obviously. Let's just jump right into it. And this last weekend, April 4th, that was 2 days ago, I came out and put some news out. It's a big military operation about to happen. There was a lot of things circulating in various different OSINT communities. I had a friend of mine saying, hey, something's about to happen. And so put it out there. Big military operation about to happen. Obviously, we don't give out direct information. I had indications of kind of what was going to happen. I'll explain that here in a few minutes with another post that I want to go into. But we knew something big was going to happen. And yeah, it was massive. It was a massive military operation, and no loss of life that was reported came from it. Alpha is just canceling everywhere this week. I'm sorry. I know. And this was also interesting because this aligned up with the boards and the deltas that are going on the boards. On April 4th as well, POTUS will be up all night, pray, watch the news tomorrow. And sure enough, that is exactly the impeccable timing that happened with that post. And we said Godspeed operators, and it makes way more sense now that we see that post and what was happening in the world. It's almost like whatever was posting that many, many years ago was very intuitive, or maybe even predictive analytics. Who knows? Donald Trump on April 5th posted the final ultimatum to Iran. And this one was a doozy. He says, Tuesday will be power plant day, bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Now, obviously, it sounds like President Trump is a little pissed off in this post. But when you start to look at what is actually occurring in Iran, you have to go back to all the previous presidents prior to Donald Trump. When it came to Obama and Iran would do something, and Obama would say, don't do that. Here's the red line. You cross this line, we're going to, and Iran would do it. And he came back out and he would do it all over. They would do it all over again. And Obama would keep on moving the goalpost. Well, the same thing under Bush, same thing under Clinton. In other words, Donald Trump understands the methodology of how Iran is moving. Iran has called the bluff of every president prior to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is doing what he is doing as an indication that he is not meant to be screwed with, as in he is a man of his word. And so right now, this is the final ultimatum, because here's the thing. Does the U.S. have the capability to power plants? Yes. That the data isn't not it's going kind of what he wants to do. Wants to watch ultimatum. This is he said, our enemy. We never. What's going to happen? Yeah, second, guys. I don't know what's going on. I'm assuming I'm going to be back now. Everything is working on my end. Fast internet is back. All right. Bad video quality, huh? Okay, now we're back on 5.5. Are you on hotel Wi-Fi tonight? No, I'm not on hotel Wi-Fi tonight. Let me see here. I want to go here. All right, it seems we are back. Okay, so going back into it. I don't know where we got cut off at. I don't even know what happened, but let's come back in. So Trump, I don't think the deadline is going to be 8 p.m. tomorrow. And here is the reason why. Now people are saying I have an echo. Let's see here. Someone does not want me communicating with you guys tonight. Give me a 5.5 if my audio and video are good. Okay, we're back. You're mighty fuzzy. Well, someone's probably playing video games downstairs, and that's what's going on. Who the hell knows? Better. Okay. Well, we're just going to push through. Hopefully that the internet starts acting better. It's 2026. Come on. It's 2026. We can have good internet in the world, people, right? Okay. All right. Donald Trump's post. I don't believe the deadline is 8 p.m. tomorrow. Number one is you never tell your enemy when you're going to attack, when it's going to happen. I think that we're going to see something most likely happen 12 hours prior to that time. So by tomorrow morning, you are going to know from Donald Trump with a post whether or not it is a go or a no. And the only way that it is going to be a no is if Iran, through Pakistan and the intermediaries, comes to an agreement with Donald Trump, and that is going out there and actually agreeing to the terms that Donald Trump is putting forth, which I don't think Iran is going to agree to the terms that Donald Trump has put forth. Honestly, I don't think so. And we've already seen kind of their indication of what they were going to, what they want. We'll go over that here in a few minutes. But I'm going to get into the mental, psychological component of this because there's a few pieces that actually fit into this puzzle. Now, going back, though, this post specifically is really, really interesting because a day later is when the influence operations began to occur all over again. What do I mean, influence operations? Massive amount of people calling for the 25th Amendment today, almost like it was put out in daily talking points by those leading the influence op. Now, what I want you to notice about the 25th Amendment talk is that, number one, it started with Democrats and then it rose into the FAGA Never MAGA crowd. Everybody in the FAGA and Never MAGA are going out there saying Donald Trump needs to be removed for the 25th Amendment. And it started with the Democrats. That should start to see the alignment of where some of these people actually are. And I think that's really, really important because these attacks are only going to persist. These attacks are going to come up massively in the course of the next few days, especially with what I think is about to happen. President Trump today, they did a press conference, Dan Raising-Kane, Pete Hegseth, President Trump, and he went full Q, dropping everything pertaining to Iran nuclear deal and Barack Obama. Well, let's pull this up real quick. Go like this. Just listen to a little bit.
If I didn't terminate the Barack Hussein Obama Iran nuclear deal, they would have had a, don't forget, that was a path to a nuclear weapon. Remember this. He chose Iran over Israel, pure and simple. How Israel can vote for a Democrat is if you're Jewish in New York City or any place else in this country, and how you can vote for a Democrat is unbelievable because he chose Iran, a very hostile Iran. Remember when he filled up a 757 with cash, billions of dollars of cash, and he sent it over to them. Then they gave them tens of billions of dollars. He chose Iran over Israel. And really the Arab world, if you look, because, you know, the other, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, I mean, you take a look. I mean, I can add Kuwait and I can add Bahrain, and you can add others. He chose such an unlikely candidate. Nobody could believe it. Frankly, if you're going to choose between Iraq and Iran, he should have befriended Iraq. He went in the exact opposite direction of all thinking, and he made a terrible mistake. But that was a road to a nuclear weapon. And when I terminated that, everyone said, oh, he terminated it. It was one of the best things we ever did because he had.
Yep, it was. Now, a few different things is number one is you got to remember who benefits from a nuclear Iran. When you start to look at the money flow and the control of resources and what we call reallocation of resources that's happening right now, it is Europe, it is Britain, the UK, who benefit from a nuclear Iran. Why? Because you have the Iran terror proxy, you have the London banks, you have Lloyds of London, the various different insurance proxies. When you have a continuous threat from Iran in the context of global resources and control over the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran that is nuclear, where nobody can really go in and do anything just because of the dangerous rhetoric that they put out there with the threat of global nuclear war. Now you have a money printing machine to where global energy costs can skyrocket at any point in time from $40 a barrel to $200 a barrel. And so this is really important to understand the context here, because Obama was an agent for British intelligence, for the old guard, for the global financial system, for the globalist bankers. This is why, through Valerie Jarrett, his back channel to Iran, he made these deals with the Khomeini regime. Now, Donald Trump has completely annihilated all of that. That is over and done with. That whole regime is dead. It's pretty interesting. And what does Donald Trump say about the plan? What does Donald Trump say about it? And this is so important to what is going on right now. Listen to what he says here.
We have a plan, because of the power of our military, where every bridge in Iran will be decimated by 12 o'clock tomorrow night, where every power plant in Iran will be out of business, burning, exploding, and never to be used again. I mean, complete demolition by 12 o'clock. And it'll happen over a period of 4 hours if we wanted to. We don't want that to happen. We may even get involved with helping them rebuild their nation. And you know what? If that's the case, the last thing we want to do is start with power plants, which are among the most expensive things, and bridges. You saw the bridge. The bridge went. We were very close to a deal. And then I got a call from Mr. Witkoff, Mr. Kushner, and JD saying, I think they're breaking the deal. I said, tell them that's okay. Don't worry about it. But tell them to look out their window and watch. And within 45 minutes, I gave the order to knock out the biggest bridge. I gave the order, knock out the biggest bridge in, I believe, the Middle East, but the biggest bridge in Iran. And within 10 minutes after I gave that order, that bridge was over. So do I want to do that? No. Do I want to destroy their infrastructure? No. It will take them 100 years to rebuild. Right now, if we left today, it would take them 20 years to rebuild their country, and it would never be as good as it was. And the only way they're going to be able to rebuild their country is to utilize the genius of the United States of America.
All right. So, game theory. You have some tough negotiators, hardliners in the IRGC, civilian components of the government in Iran. What is going on right now is you have most likely the civilian counterparts in the government really ready, willing, and able to make a deal. You have IRGC hardliners that do not want to make a deal, but only in the context of their terms. So, what we're watching unfold right now with Donald Trump is a negotiation play. It is a power play by Trump. The question comes about, does Iran believe Donald Trump will pull the trigger, yes or no? Well, he just gave you one example. Witkoff, Kushner came out and said, he's pulling out. He made a call, 45 minutes later, bombs dropped. This is Donald Trump reaffirming that he is willing and ready to do what he says. Now, that was a prerequisite because at that time, this deal, the 48-hour or the 48-hour deal was not on the table. There's also another point here. He says, number one, you got 8 o'clock tomorrow Eastern time, right? Okay. He says it'll only take 4 hours, and by midnight, they'll be decimated. The question is what midnight is Donald Trump talking about? Is he talking about midnight in Iran? Or is he talking about midnight here? Because right now it's morning in Iran, which means that in 12 hours, it's going to be getting close to nighttime in Iran, which means it'll be the morning that they'll be waking up. Here's my thoughts. If they do not have a deal worked out, agreed to by close of business in Iran today, Donald Trump is going to move very, very fast, and he's not waiting for that 8 o'clock deadline. He's not going to wait for 3 o'clock in the morning to see if they're going to call and make a deal. That's what Iran thinks is going to happen. Donald Trump's not going to do that. My thought is that they basically have till morning time Eastern tomorrow, about 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, which is late evening, 8 p.m. at night, or like 6 p.m. at night, their time. And here's the thing, is no negotiations, no treaties, no ceasefires are negotiated at that time at night, specifically from Iran. Everything that you've seen has happened over the morning and the daytime frame. In other words, if there's no answer, if there's no agreement in place by the time that we wake up in the morning tomorrow, by the time you wake up in the morning tomorrow, you're probably going to see bombs dropping on critical infrastructure in Iran. And then people are going to come out and say, well, Donald Trump gave them the 8 o'clock. Why is he doing it early? Because he knows that they aren't going to negotiate a deal, because he knows that nothing is going to happen for the next 12 hours in the context of them coming out for a deal. And what he will most likely do is, if he hits the infrastructure in Iran, it's going to be in various different phases. Phase one, he'll probably take out one regional area, probably the strongest economic regional area of Iran. He'll give them some time, wait, see if the phone rings. Then he'll hit phase two, phase three, phase four. It'll be done within 4 hours. And then what you'll have is most likely the Iranian people coming and trying to make a deal. Now, that's just my thought, is that I think that he's going to pull the trigger early, and I think that he's going to give them basically 12 hours from now. So 12 hours from now, if we don't see anything tomorrow morning, we're going to wake up and bombs are going to be dropping, and that shit's going to hit the fan. Now, is there potential for a deal to actually come about? I think there's about a 20% chance that you might actually see a deal. And I know that this is kind of what they have in their statistical analysis over at the Pentagon, is maybe there's a 20% chance. And the problem with the deal is Trump is pushing for a ceasefire. Netanyahu is against the ceasefire. Iran wants a complete end with their terms administered. Their terms and a complete end is not going to happen. Donald Trump asking for a ceasefire, he's doing this on purpose. And we'll get into kind of this other power projection play here in a second. Now, this last weekend, there was a massive military operation. One of the F-15 Eagle pilots and their his war officer weapons officer were shot down. They both ejected. We were able to go and get the pilot of the plane and extract him. And then the weapons officer, he went out and there was a massive mission to go and to get this guy. Now, this is actually pretty huge. So, rumors came out after this operation that the Trump administration was actually trying to go in there and secure Iranian uranium. Now, I said the other day, big military operation is about to happen. The rumors that we were hearing is that there was going to be potentially the United States going in and trying this operation. Now, a lot of things are coming out saying that they actually tried this operation and it completely failed. There were reports floating around that this wasn't just a rescue, that the U.S. was preparing to go in and secure Iranian uranium. Now, there's analysis circulating claiming that this recent mission was a failed uranium extraction attempt. I disagree with that, and this is what I'm going to say about it. The force package doesn't match the objective. You don't roll in light for something like that. Securing enriched uranium inside Iran would require a much larger layered military presence, air dominance, perimeter control, logistics, extraction, redundancy. That footprint simply wasn't there. No evidence of facility seizure. Any uranium operation starts with locking down their site. These facilities are hardened, defended, and in some cases deeply buried. Natanz is massively fortified. You would have seen sustained air activity and ground control around the facility itself. We didn't. Casualties would almost certainly be higher. Iran is not a soft target. These sites are guarded by trained military units. A direct attempt to seize nuclear material would likely result in significant resistance and losses. That didn't happen. Bottom line, what we saw was a high-risk, deep special operation rescue mission, not a strategic uranium grab. The side note, this could have been a test for exactly this type of mission, which is actually my thoughts. This was a dry test run of logistics. Here's why this matters. Now we bring it all together. At the same time that the United States was going in to rescue this weapons officer from the F-15, they obviously ran some psychological warfare operations through the CIA on the ground and utilized new special technology. One of the things that they talked about is the two C-130s. They bombed the shit out of an old airport area in Isfahan, Iran, and then they landed C-130s, and the C-130s got stuck and couldn't leave, and so special operators went in, blew up those C-130s, brought other crew responses in, and these were basically mobile command centers. So people are like, they're going to use them to take out the uranium. No, these were mobile command centers that they utilized for this operation. The reason is because this guy was deep within Iranian territory, and there's thousands upon thousands of people looking for him. But there's one thing they also did that not many people are talking about it. And I want you to listen to this clip because Donald Trump says he has a plan. Okay? And a few of the things that you've heard this last weekend is Israel doesn't know these plans. Israel was not involved in the rescue operation of the downed F-15 pilot. Listen to this.
Well, we start you with a new development, Tommy. The president is boasting another mass assassination of Iranian leaders who gathered together. The president posted on Truth Social. Many of Iran's leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated. He posted it with a video of an airstrike. It coincides with information from a Telegram channel that more than 50 senior Iranian officials were eliminated in a combined strike from Israeli and U.S. forces. Israel, it should be noted, denies participation in this one. The search continues for a weapon systems...
Wait. What was that?
Noted denies participation in this one. The senior Iranian officials were eliminated in a combined strike from Israeli and U.S. forces. Israel, it should be noted, denies participation in this one.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there. This is where things get really interesting, guys. Okay. Listen to what he says and then again what he says.
50 senior Iranian officials were eliminated in a combined strike from Israeli and U.S. forces.
With a combined strike of Israeli and U.S. forces. This is being reported by the Pentagon. Then he says...
Israel, it should be noted, denies participation in this one. The search continues...
Israel denies participation. What? You go back a few weeks ago. It was Israel-U.S. joint airstrikes that didn't make any sense. They were contradictory to what Trump was saying. To the point where Trump even called out Netanyahu. Netanyahu came out the next day and apologized and said, yes, the United States wasn't part of this airstrike. Now, you're seeing the reverse. But 50 Iranian officials were killed. Do you want to take a guess the allegiance of some of those Iranian officials that were probably in that meeting to who they probably worked for? Maybe the Mossad? Maybe Israel? We've talked about Israeli infiltration into Iran. Now, I want you to be Donald Trump, and I want you to send a message very, very silently to Israel. We are in control. Don't fuck with us. Don't get in our way. What happened there? Most likely you have IRGC counter components, Iranian civilian government officials who were aligned with Mossad agents, or with Israel that were probably feeding information back to Israel pertaining to the United States and the negotiations. Hence why every time that Trump comes out and says we're trying to make a deal, Netanyahu comes out and says a ceasefire isn't going to work. Well, Trump never said anything about a ceasefire, and Netanyahu's coming out saying a ceasefire. How are they known about this? Because someone is leaking the information. Israel denies participation. Now, Iran has delivered a highly anticipated 10-point response to the U.S.'s 15-point peace plan. Iran's 10-point plan includes guarantees that Iran will not be attacked again, permanent end of the war, not just a ceasefire, end to Israeli strikes in Lebanon, lifting of all U.S. sanctions on Iran, end of all regional fighting against Iranian allies. In return, Iran will open the Strait of Hormuz. Iran will impose a Hormuz fee of $2 million per ship. Iran will split these fees with Oman. Iran to provide rules for safe passage through Hormuz. Iran to use Hormuz fees for reconstruction instead of reparations. President Trump's deadline for a peace deal with Iran is less than 20 hours away. Now, if you listen to Iran's deal there, it's kind of interesting, right? Guarantees that Iran will not be attacked again. You can't guarantee that. That's an impossibility. Permanent end of the war, not just a ceasefire. That is a very good possibility, and I think Trump would honor that. End Israeli strikes in Lebanon. Israel's not even in the negotiations. I think that one's actually going to happen. So, and I'm going to tell you who I think actually wrote this, because that's a China interest. China has massive financial interest through the Belt and Roads Initiative in Lebanon. Lifting of all U.S. sanctions on Iran. That's going to happen, but slowly over time. That is not something that is going to come just from this. End of all regional fighting against Iranian allies. This is Iraq, Yemen, so forth. In return, Iran would open the strait. Iran would impose Hormuz fee of $2 million per ship. Iran would split these fees with Oman. Iran would provide rules of safe passage, and Iran used the Strait Hormuz fees for reconstruction and separate reparations. So the first five are actually what is probably going to be in disagreement with. So when you pull this up, the first five are what is going to be in disagreement with. And what you're going to see is that the last five, in return, Iran would open the strait, impose a Hormuz fee of $2 million per ship, split these fees with Oman. Iran provide rules for safe passage through Hormuz, and Iran to Hormuz fees for reconstruction and separate reparations. I think actually that's going to be agreeable, except for one small caveat that Trump is going to put in there. And Iran will impose a $2 million fee per ship. Trump is going to provide a $1 more million escort fee through the Strait of Hormuz. And this is what one of the Trump admin officials actually came out and said is being proposed, is to come out and actually put $1 million negotiation fee or a transit fee within the strait. So I think that's going to be a possibility. Now, and the Israeli strikes in Lebanon, very, very possible. I think that Trump can negotiate that. And I think that is probably something that they're going to do because Trump was pissed off that Israel's actually in Lebanon. Lifting of all U.S. sanctions on Iran, that is not going to happen immediately. That's going to be very, very slow. So I don't think that is going to be negotiated down in the context of a phased rollout plan. Permanent end of the war, not just a ceasefire. That's the same thing. Phases, that's going to be a transitionary shift, and guarantees Iran will not be attacked again. You can't do that. So number one is, if you watch Iran's negotiations, they're getting less and less that they're in control, but sound more and more like they want to retain the illusion of control. So I think that Trump is going to probably do a rebuttal back almost immediately with this. I haven't seen anything come across yet. But that rebuttal back will be basically U.S.'s plan, which I don't think we've really seen U.S.'s plan. But this is what I think is going to happen. And this is I think that there's a good possibility that this is what we could see happen over the next 24 hours. Number one, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Trump against the ceasefire deal. And this is where it starts to get interesting. I want to get into what I think is going to happen, but I have to, my autistic brain has to set the base platform here because you have to know everything. Number one is Israel is not being told everything. Just like what you saw with that news broadcast, Israel-U.S. strikes take out 50 senior Iranian officials. Israel denies involvement. That is so freaking huge. Then we're getting that Netanyahu has said through aides that are releasing the information that Trump needs to deny the ceasefire, right? So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Trump against the ceasefire deal, according to Israeli officials and Axios. It doesn't seem like there's major direct contact between Netanyahu and Trump. And why is that? It comes about with something Trump said earlier today. Let's pull up this post.
You probably know we didn't talk about the first one for an hour. Then somebody leaked something, which we'll hopefully find that leaker. We're looking very hard to find that leaker. And talked about there's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information. So whoever it was, we think we'll be able to find it out because we're going to go to the media company that released it, and we're going to say, national security, give it up or go to jail. And we know who, and you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do, because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden.
Okay. Have you put it together? Because Amit Segal from Israel Channel 12 is the one that leaked that information. Okay? So Israel Channel 12 is who put that information out there of the downed American pilot, the first one. That was Amit Segal who received that information. That's Israel's news media who received that information, who put that information out there. Now, why does that matter? When you look at it, it just seems like it's nothing, right? I'm going to go back a little bit, and I want you to listen to what Trump says here.
Country of Iran knew that there was, you know who we're talking about, because some things you can't do, because when they did that, all of a sudden, the entire country of Iran knew that there was a pilot that was somewhere on their land that was fighting for his life. And it also made it much more difficult for the pilots and for the people going in to search for him. All of a sudden, they know that there's somebody out there. They see all these planes coming in. It became a much more difficult operation.
So, in other words, Amit Segal from Israeli Channel 12 had intel leaked to him that one of the pilots had been rescued, that there was a pilot down in Iran. Now, that information that they put out on Israeli Channel 12 put American lives at risk. The life of the weapons officer, of the pilot, the lives of the rescue crew, of the special operators that went in there. Who would do that? Who would leak that to Israel Channel 12 and potentially cause American lives to be lost? Who would want, this is the right framing here, who would want that pilot or weapons officer to be found by Iran? That's where you have to think. Who wanted that weapons officer to be found by Iran? Now, what happened at the same time? Okay? What happened at the same time that this all occurred. Remember, the Trump administration knew going into the rescue operation that somebody leaked the information to Israel Channel 12. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull this video up. Listen.
To the new development, Tommy, the president is boasting another mass assassination of Iranian leaders who gathered together. The president posted on Truth Social. Many of Iran's leaders who have led them poorly and unwisely are terminated. He posted it with a video of an airstrike. It coincides with information from a Telegram channel that more than 50 senior Iranian officials were eliminated in a combined strike from Israeli and U.S. forces. Israel, it should be noted, denies participation in this one.
Oh, hold on a second here. So a news broadcast comes out. And is talking about the downed pilots. What's Trump say about it? I want everybody to see the framing here.
There's somebody missing. They basically said that we have one and there's somebody missing. Well, they didn't know there was somebody missing until this leaker gave the information.
They didn't know somebody was missing until this leaker gave the information. This leaker gave the Israel Channel 12. At the same time that the rescue operation occurs 24 hours later, the United States obliterates 50 Iranian senior politicians and IRGC members. And they claim that the airstrike was done through Israeli and U.S. forces, but Israel comes out and denies involvement. The leaker leaked through Israel Channel 12. Did you get it? Israel leaked the information to Iran. Now, Trump said is they're going to figure out who on the U.S. side leaked that to Israel Channel 12. Now, Israeli journalist Amit Segal, who just happens to be close to Netanyahu and leaked the details about the missing second pilot in Iran, feels confident he won't be charged by the Department of Justice. Now, Trump is pissed. But I do believe that the 50 people that were taken out in that meeting were, some of them, potentially working directly for the Mossad, directly for Israel. And this was a message from Trump to Israel, stay the fuck out of this. And we're seeing this reiterated with him going actually out public with all of this now. Now, why is Israel so interested in Iran and what happens in Iran? And are we actually witnessing Save Israel for Last? I think that we are in the midst of Save Israel for Last. What does that mean? It means that Bibi Netanyahu's radical regime of terror and evil is coming to an end. And I truly do believe that that is happening. And I'm surprised that the IRGC in Iran haven't come out and put it as one of their demands is the removal of Benjamin Netanyahu as prime minister of Israel. I mean, you would imagine that that would be at the top of their list. People are starting to finally see what this is all about, what the war is all about, why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing, and why he doesn't give a shit about going out there and annihilating the critical infrastructure. And I'm going to get into that, the critical infrastructure, what I think Trump is actually going to do here in a minute. We got to do a quick segue. I got to run one of these Rumble ads. So let's go ahead and run this Rumble ad real quick, and then we'll jump right back in. And I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen over the course of the next 24 hours. They can freeze your accounts, shut off your cards, lock you out of your own money overnight. Banks don't protect you, they control you. That's why real financial freedom starts with ownership. Introducing Rumble Wallet, a non-custodial wallet built for people who refuse to give up control. With Rumble Wallet, you don't just buy digital currencies like Bitcoin and Tether. You can own Tether Gold, real gold on the blockchain. Through Tether Gold, you get direct ownership of physical gold bars, each one fully allocated, verifiable by serial number, purity, and weight. This isn't paper gold. This isn't an IOU. This is real gold without bank vault, storage fees, or gatekeepers. You can buy, sell, or move it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even when traditional gold markets are closed. And if you want, Tether Gold can be redeemed for physical gold. That's power. And when you support creators on Rumble, you can tip them directly using Rumble Wallet, peer-to-peer, and outside the banking system. No permission, no middleman, no cancel button. This wallet is yours forever. wallet.rumble.com, guys. All right. So what does Josh think is potentially going to happen here? I think that within the midst of the rescue operation for the F-15 pilot, Donald Trump and the U.S. military ran a dry test run of what it would look like if they were going to go in and try to secure the uranium from Natanz in the Isfahan region of Iran. In order to do something like that, you would have to create your own runway. So you'd have to bomb a whole facility out there, create a runway, be able to land multiple C-130s, probably 3 or 4 C-130s that were reinforced with the cargo containment containers that would actually house uranium, refined uranium. You got to remember, this is radioactive material. You would have to have massive amounts of manpower to be able to rush in. You would have to use the U.S. Army's NTD team that comes in there. They handle all of the nuclear type of materials, and they do all the nuclear responses. If there's a broken arrow situation, they're the ones that go in and neutralize these types of situations. The amount of personnel necessary to do something this is probably about 500 personnel on the ground. That includes special operation forces, which would have to take the facility. And we're talking a facility like Natanz, heavily fortified, deep underground. You would need accessibility. You would have to go in. You're talking probably a few thousand Iranian troops, not including the fortified areas around them with anti-air missile systems, ground troops and patrols in and around the facility. It is a massive feat to do something like this. Okay? Massive feat. There's two different scenarios I think potentially could happen here. Number one is Donald Trump does not give a shit about making a deal with Iran. That a deal with Iran is just not going to happen. That no matter, even if Iran came out and they agreed to all of Trump's terms, the deal would not happen. And the reason I say that is because I think that they've put the demands from the United States to Iran so high that they know Iran will never agree to it. And this is why Iran keeps on coming out and countering. That's actually pretty modest in compromise. Trump's never going to agree to it. The reason he's not going to agree to it is because taking out of bridges, infrastructure, and water and desalination plants is actually part of the plan. I believe within the next probably 12 to 15 hours, the United States is going to start bombing the shit out of critical infrastructure throughout Iran. Bridges, roads, major highways, electrical generation plants, desalination plants, all of this. What that is going to cause is a massive uprising amongst the Iranian people, not a call to arms against the United States. It's going to be against their government because Donald Trump has shown their government multiple different times that, hey, you guys could have had a deal. You could have had a plan. All you had to do is accept this deal, and they denied it. They declined it, and they tried to recompromise every level of the way. And this is the old methodology done by the old regime. But is there another purpose that taking out the critical infrastructure actually supports? Yeah. If you wanted to cut off all Iranian military from Natanz or from the area that they're housing, which I believe it's in Natanz, that area that they're housing uranium. Because here's the thing. You're looking at about a 12-hour operation for U.S. Special Forces to go into this facility, clear the facility out, secure the uranium, move the uranium out, load it on the C-130s, and fly out of there. Probably a 12 to 18-hour operation. How do you delay the Iranian military by 12 to 18 hours? You take out bridges, roads, critical infrastructure, electricity. You take out the dam. That's how you do it. Because what's going to happen is Iran is going to move into a state of emergency once electrical power goes out, bridges, roads, major highways. Once all of that is absolutely annihilated, now military that has to travel 2 to 3 hours to respond to something at the nuclear facility in I think it's in the southern region of Iran, becomes impossible. They can take off by plane, but guess what's also going to happen? Yesterday, the United States bombed one of the main runways at an Iranian airport. They also bombed another airport location prior to moving in to Natanz. Now, remember, during the rescue operation, the two C-130s on the ground, that was an old airport, military runway airport used by the IRGC. And the United States came in and bombed the shit out of it. Now, planes got to land somewhere if they're going to do something, because you have a very limited scope that you can actually drop out of the plane, paratroopers parachuting down. Basically, everything has to move on the ground in order for a response of this scale. My thoughts: Trump's going to take out bridges, critical infrastructure, roads. He's going to take out airports and runways of their military facilities. Of all their large military bases, he is just going to decimate their runways. Boom, 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 one after another. He's going to take out their helicopter fleets. He's going to take out the dam desalination plants. And at the same time, 3 C-130s loaded with 500 military personnel and special operation forces are going to make their way into the Iranian nuclear facility that is housing the uranium. They're going to clear the frickin' building. They're going to grab the uranium. They're going to load it up on the C-130s, 12 to 18-hour operation. And before anybody even knew what happened, they're back in the air and gone. Why? Because the massive amount of electronic communication and jamming that's going to be utilized, new technology from the NSA and the CIA, hacking is going to be utilized. They're going to utilize new technology to scramble IRGC comms. They're going to lose, Iran is going to lose comms with all of these different facilities around Iran. Now, I don't believe that all of Iran's uranium is stored in one facility, but you probably have the bulk in Natanz or the other facilities. But I believe that this is what the Trump administration is planning. I could be wrong. Could be really wrong. But I have a feeling that this is what they're planning, because it all aligns correctly. When you start to look at, number one, Trump has said over repeatedly the last few days, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. The refined uranium is one of the biggest key components, because the uranium doesn't just happen to do with nuclear weapons. Uranium is a very, very scarce and rare substance on this planet. It's very, very difficult to mine and refine, specifically to 60%, which is reactor grade. Iran has over 1,000 pounds of it. That's a massive amount of uranium. That is decades of energy and power. We are entering into an energy war. Donald Trump's administration is creating micro-nuclear reactors for every single military installation that the United States military operates. Not only that, is they're looking at 2 to 3 different nuclear power plants for every single data center that is going to be operating within the skirts of the United States of America. In other words, you need an increased supply of uranium. And why not just go take in other countries that you've absolutely decimated? Remember, Donald Trump says it's the fruits of war. We should have went in there and took the oil, but I don't think I'm going to go. Remember, he said this 2 days ago. He said we should go in there and take the oil because it's ours. But I don't think I'm going to do that to the Iranian people. No, he's going to take their uranium. I think this is what's about to happen. He's going to bomb the shit out of Iranian infrastructure. They're going to use new weapons, electromagnetic pulses, as well as probably hacking to confuse their communication and electronic systems. They're going to bomb their runways. They're going to bomb their military installations. They're going to bomb troop movements on the way there. 12 to 18-hour operation. One of the largest special military operations you've ever seen in mankind's history, I think, is going to occur within the next 12 to 48 hours. And it's going to be the Trump administration going in there, absolutely decimating Iranian infrastructure, Iranian leadership, Iranian military facilities, runways, bridges, electric generation. It's going to be a massive cyber attack, as well as ground troops going in and securing the nuclear facilities and taking the uranium out and getting it out of Iran. We'll see. but I think it's a good possibility. And Trump just said he'll be speaking tonight live with the great and brave astronauts of Artemis 2. Oh, that's interesting. And he's doing that right now. Anyways. But more and more people are beginning to realize what this war is really about. Mario's been struggling, guys. Look, I know me and Mario, we've been connected a little bit on this. He's been struggling back and forth. I mean, he's got some good guys on his show, some bad guys on his show, a lot of bullshit on his show, but he puts out a lot of bad and medium level information. But he's starting to get it now. The war nobody is framing correctly is about the dollar, not the nukes. A little bit. Iran was selling 90% of its oil to China and won, not dollars. It was part of a broader BRICS push to bypass the dollar in global energy trade. Venezuela was doing the same. Well, here's the other problem. Iran has not been selling oil on the dollar for decades, since Obama time frame. So don't know if I really agree with that part. Trump took out both within weeks of each other. That's not a coincidence. Venezuela and obviously Iran. The entire American economic model runs on the assumption the world buys and sells oil in dollars, and those dollars get recycled back into U.S. debt. The GCC is the engine of that system. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain sell oil in dollars and reinvest the proceeds into American assets. That cycle funds about $39 trillion in national debt that keeps the American economy functioning. Iran threatened that system in two ways. It sold oil outside of the U.S. dollar, and it had the military capability to threaten the GCC nations that anchor the petrodollar. The nuclear-armed Iran could eventually coerce its neighbors into abandoning the dollar entirely. Now look at the war actually achieved. Iran's ability to threaten the GCC military is being degraded. Gulf states were quietly diversifying towards China are now completely dependent on American protection again. Yep, we talked about that. The F-35 sale to Saudi Arabia locks Riyadh into the U.S. weapons ecosystem for decades. And every Iranian oil sale in won that gets taken offline is a sale that reverts back to U.S. dollars. The consequences, if this fails, are existential. If the U.S. withdraws from the Middle East without securing the petrodollar system, the GCC could become client states of whoever guarantees their security next. Japan and South Korea would question American reliability. Europe would accelerate its pivot away from Washington. Dollar demand collapses and America can no longer finance its debt. That's why there's no real off-ramp. The nukes are just justification. The missiles are the pretext. The dollar is the reason, and people are paying the price. Everyone is caught in between. He's like right, but off. The dollar is a part of it. There is a lot of constraint on the dollar right now, but the dollar is actually migrating into a new system dynamic. And that is going to be a backing on not just global energy and oil, the petrodollar, but it's going to be asset backed. And that's going to be backed by the sovereign wealth fund, various different investment, AI infrastructure. You got data centers. So there was something that came out today. And I said, I will talk about this tonight on the show. And this has everything to do with what we just talked about there. But it's a little bit more complex than what Mario is actually bringing up. This isn't just about the dollar. Here's the news clip. Russian intelligence has provided Iran with a detailed list of 55 critical infrastructure targets within Israel, according to information obtained by the Jerusalem Post from a source close to Ukrainian intelligence. Break that down real quick, okay? Russia provided Iran 55 critical infrastructure targets within Israel, according to information obtained from the Jerusalem Post, the Mossad mouthpiece, a source close to Ukrainian intelligence. Israel is communicating with Ukrainian intelligence. Hold on a second here. There's more here than actually meets the eye. But wait, Russia is working with the U.S. on energy deals and exploration. Remember the Alaska summit? You remember the U.S. has even reduced certain sanctions against Russia. At the beginning of the Iran war, when the Straits of Hormuz first closed and oil prices skyrocketed, Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, came out and reduced various different sanctions on Russian seaborne oil. That seaborne oil that just happened to be sitting out at sea was put out to sea by Vladimir Putin through Arctic LNG the day after the Alaskan summit. That's showing coordination between Putin and Trump on what is happening right now. Then Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on Israeli energy infrastructure. This is where it gets really, really interesting. Because remember, what did we just talk about with Israel? 50 people within the Iranian leadership were just taken out by Israel-U.S. airstrikes, but Israel denies involvement. At the same time, that there is a leak about the U.S. Air Force pilot that was down inside Iran that happened through Israel Channel 12, where Trump comes out and vows that they're going to be prosecuted. All this is connected. Now, a few weeks ago, Netanyahu claimed that Israel would become a regional and global superpower. What? They will do this by funneling Iranian oil to the Mediterranean through Israel via pipelines. By the way, there's one company that significantly benefits from this, and that is Chevron. Chevron owns a lot of the infrastructure already operating within Israel and offshore owned by Israel. By the way, Gaza has massive amounts of offshore rigs right there owned by the Palestinian Authority and operated through other, the infrastructure is operated through other independent organizations through Turkey and so forth. Israel doesn't like that. Chevron doesn't like that, and Chevron wants control of that, and Israel wants control of that. If Israel was able to annihilate Gaza and occupy that area, they would have taken over all of that offshore oil that was owned by the Palestinian Authority, and then Chevron would have came in and built out the infrastructure. By the way, Chevron just happens to be one of the large oil companies, amongst others operating here in the United States of America, that are also promoting pro-Israel and complete destruction of Iran propaganda through various different influencers. You heard it here first. I'll say that. Guys, this is some high-level shit. I hope you're understanding what I'm talking about here. Now, Ukraine has been hitting Russian oil infrastructure. So, stop right there. Remember, Israel was hitting Iranian oil infrastructure and their electric grid after Trump said, we will not hit critical infrastructure and we will not hit Iranian oil. And then Israel went in and bombed Iranian oil. And then Trump came out and said, what the fuck? What are you doing? The next day, Netanyahu comes out and apologizes to the world. In the same sense, comes out and says they're going to become a regional and global superpower by they're going to control, we don't need the Straits of Hormuz anymore. We're going to control the oil by bringing pipelines through Israel to the Mediterranean. Okay. Ukraine has been hitting Russian oil infrastructure nonstop. Since when? Well, glad you asked. They've been hitting it nonstop the day that the United States removed certain sanctions on Russian oil. What? And this comes out the same time that you learn Zelensky and his regime were planning to take U.S. taxpayer dollars and funnel hundreds of millions of dollars back into the Democrats and Joe Biden. But here's a little circle around. Okay, because one of the other things you've been hearing about is Russia has also been providing Iranian intelligence with other key intelligence positions of infrastructure that hit, not just in Israel. Iran has been hitting UK and European oil and gas infrastructure in Qatar and Iraq. Remember, 15% of the Fars oil field was destroyed to the point where Qatar, and then over 20% of the Iraqi oil fields, that the infrastructure of those two sides was owned primarily by the UK. To the point where Qatar and Iraq both came out with a force majeure saying they could no longer fulfill their contracts due to the decimation of that infrastructure. And I say, if you see it then, you understand it. If you don't, I will explain it tonight. Let me explain this. This is actually very geopolitically complex. What you have right now is a global power realignment through the control and the accessibility of energy. That's what this is about. This is why Russia was going into Ukraine for a special military operation into the Donbass. The Donbass is a massive oil and gas field. There's tons of energy right there, and Russia went in because they saw weakness within the Biden administration to go in and secure that. That's why the negotiations on the table between Russia, the Ukraine, and the United States has all been about the negotiation of the control of the energy within Donbass. Iran, Russian intelligence is giving Iran targets. The targets Iran is hitting are UK oil infrastructure in Iraq and Qatar. Well, hold on. Ukraine has been hitting Russian oil infrastructure since all of this started. Who's giving orders to Ukraine? Well, it's British Storm Shadow missiles that are launching in to Russian oil infrastructure as well as their kamikaze drones, but it's NATO and the UK primarily that are propagating the war against Russia. At the beginning of the Iran conflict, Iran shut down the Straits of Hormuz. Well, why does that matter? Well, there's not like this big gate that comes down and closes the Strait of Hormuz. There isn't a big sign like saying close for business today. See, the Strait of Hormuz doesn't actually close. What it is you get what's known as the Iranian terror premium, right? Peter Navarro talks about this. The Iranian terror premium has been utilized for decades and has siphoned trillions of dollars away from anybody who utilizes oil and gas. And who does it benefit? It benefits London. It benefits the UK. It benefits the large insurance companies. So anytime the Iranian regime would come out there and say, death to America, we close the strait, we will bomb any ship that goes through the strait, Lloyd's of London, the largest insurer of all maritime traffic through the Straits of Hormuz, spikes up their insurance premiums. That spike in insurance premiums makes the cost of oil and gas skyrocket, on average $5 to $15 a barrel. Lloyd's of London makes massive amounts of money. But here's the other caveat. $5 to $15 for the price of oil. Well, how does the global supply chain operate? Central banks, large financial institutions, global supply chain. When you buy $1 billion worth of oil from Saudi Arabia that's going to transit, or Bahrain, that's going to transit out the Straits of Hormuz and go out into the world, Corporation A, who buys $1 billion on the tanker of oil, doesn't give $1 billion to the oil company because they don't have that upfront capital to do that. That's not how business operates. Instead, they borrow short interim capital, a short-term loan, 6 to 12-month loan to buy and purchase that oil. That short-term loan comes about through the large financial institutions, which, by the way, are mainly headquartered in London. Now, the rate of interest for that short interim loan is derived from the central banks, which are primarily operated out of London. It's a fucking Ponzi scheme. See, the banks of London, the large insurance and banking institutions that operate out of Europe, utilize terror around the world to increase the interest that they get to charge on their money and the insurance premiums to utilize the accessibility to different energy corridors, therefore filling and lining their pockets with money while the rest of the world suffers from high energy costs. And they utilize this by controlling the Iranian regime. Ali Khamenei, by the way, if you go back to Khomeini, the first Ayatollah that came in, he was exiled and living in France. It was a UK flight that brought him back to Iran after the British and the Americans overthrew the Shah. And the Shah got overthrown because he realized he was getting a bad deal on the oil deals that he had with the British and tried to renegotiate and then pulled out. And then they put in Khomeini that comes in, accepts the British deal for oil under the table. Sanctions come in, which means that they get to just charge more. They have more profit on the upside. They don't have to pay the global tariff charges. And then they control the Straits of Hormuz with this Iranian terror premium. So who does that affect? That affects all energy producers globally. Well, who are the two largest energy producers in the world? The United States and Russia. So Russia has a invested interest in the Straits of Hormuz being absolutely open, that London losing their control. Now, London is going after Russia. Why? London is pissed off that Russia is moving back into the global energy framework. They're pissed off that their infrastructure is being decimated throughout the Middle East. In other words, Donald Trump over the last year has been removing London's control over the global economic system by removing their accessibility and control over global energy corridors. Venezuela, Panama Canal, and then you got the Straits of Hormuz. But you say, well, Josh, wasn't it China who basically operated and owned that? Yeah, it was China through the Belt and Roads Initiative that went in and financed hundreds of billions of dollars, if not trillions of dollars, throughout the coastlines within Africa, South America, Latin America. They had a lease on the Panama Canal. China owned massive amounts of oil infrastructure within Iraq. But China was built and funded by who? UK. Mao Zedong, when he came up through the Industrial Revolution, it was the British that funded much of that. That's why they had the spot in Hong Kong. This was the Sassoon Rothschild banking dynasties that funded Mao throughout this whole time period from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And then they implemented their control mechanisms over China. Now, the Chinese Communist Party, they obviously don't have loyalties to England primarily, but when you start to look at how it was China financing this money to go out there through the Belt and Roads Initiative, it was through global partnerships with European nations, primarily the UK. So when China's going out there and building out the infrastructure for the Belt and Roads Initiative and building new roads and bridges and infrastructure and upgrading and updating these ports, they're doing it in collaboration with the banking financial dynasties in London. So Donald Trump goes out there, starts removing all of these bad deals. Remember, bad deals, deficits, so forth, because one of the ways that London paid for a lot of this was keeping the United States in a continuous deficit, which increased their debt, which then increased their power and control over the United States of America. And Donald Trump has systematically dismantled this system over the last year. Venezuela was one of the first dominoes to fall. Panama Canal came later on, and Venezuela, I mean, obviously secure. That oil is moving now through the United States of America, ensuring that that money gets back to the Venezuelan people. But now it's Russia and the United States standing up to the global power brokers that control this world for a very, very long time and are saying no more. And they're destroying their infrastructure throughout the Middle East. In other words, they're erasing the UK's global energy presence in the Middle East. That is massive because it basically decimates London's financial grasp on global energy. That's why this is going on in Iran. That's why what you're seeing in Iran is happening. And Iran, through Russia proxy, is attacking Israeli oil infrastructure and UK oil infrastructure through coordinated ballistic missile strikes with Iran. Now, who does that benefit? Well, it's telling you one thing, that Israel is not going to have their dream pipeline from Iran through Israel into the Med, that Donald Trump doesn't want Israel to become a regional or a global superpower in the control of oil and gas. Donald Trump has stated multiple different times that if anybody controls Iranian oil, it is going to be us. And this is one of the reasons why Carg Island becomes so critically important. And I believe one of the key components of what Trump is trying to negotiate is dual utilization and accessibility to Carg Island, and basically a kind of a tariff premium on all Iranian oil. And I think that this is how Trump is trying to control that. But that's a discussion for another day. But what you're seeing is Iran, Ukraine are proxies to two-fronted wars that are dominating for global control of energy and accessibility to energy corridors. I know that was a lot. But if you see it, you see it. If you begin to look at the world, you're like, holy shit, this fucking guy is right. Damn right. This is what is happening in the world. Look, I love my Badlands friends, and was a sovereign alliance. It absolutely is a sovereign alliance, except for China is still a variable player within this. I believe Xi Jinping is on board, but you don't have the full support of the CCP and the PLA. And Russia, you got massive support against what is Donald Trump is doing. And look at Kirill Dmitriev. This is a special envoy to Vladimir Putin, negotiating directly with the United States of America. He says, we are living through an early COVID moment. When COVID started, few understood that it will undermine every life and every economy. My fund did, and we urgently developed successful anti-COVID trio, a test, a drug, and a vaccine approved by 70 countries. Our advice, read more. Our advice, as most EU, UK bureaucrats are still clueless, fail to admit mistakes and underestimate the upcoming shock. Prepare diligently for the most extreme energy, agricultural, and economic crisis. Support honest solutions-oriented politicians. Get Russian energy. Kirill Dmitriev is telling the truth here. Because when you have disruptions in accessibility, when you start to remove power from old power structures that have controlled regions for a very long time, that moves into global war, people. What I believe Kirill Dmitriev is telling you here is that this is not ending in a few days. This has just begun. And this is going to be something that is going to expand much further from the current point that we're in. All right. We're going to do a quick transit. Holy shit, we're almost at an hour and a half. We're going to do a quick transition. And and then we're going to go into some other news that we have going on. Man, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? Lots of shit happening, guys. All right, I wanted to share about a family supporting this channel. 8 years ago, their brother returned from Afghanistan with significant injuries and lost his ability to function. We can't share his exact story because of FDA restrictions, but friends keep suggesting CBD, so they tried dozens of CBD products, but nothing helped. Out of frustration, they began to create their own. They started making it to help friends, family have CBD that they knew was clean and powerful as possible. Then doctors started asking to carry it, and it took off. Now they speak at medical conventions and help others across the U.S. While most companies have 1 to 10 compounds in CBD oil, their oil has up to 50. They have 8 things that make their products different. They make bombs, gummies, and pet products, etc. They're called Emerald Med. You should check these guys out. If you get their CBD and don't notice a big difference, they'll actually provide a refund. If you want to support a business that supports our channel and free speech with marketing dollars, if you need a source of CBD that's real, they're running a special right now because it's their company's anniversary. You can click the link below to try Emerald Med, 40% off today. Get extreme muscle and joint relief, get significant inflammation and circulation support quality of sleep, or even daytime calm. They're worth a try at least once. Just click the link below and use the code 40% off up to 2 top items today. For everybody wondering, well, where's that link? Go on over to Rumble, and if you go to the Rumble channel of this episode, that link's in the description. It's also in the chat. All right, quick transition. We do have a few other stories to get through, and I know that there's a lot going on with what we just talked about there. Listen to Todd Blanche here. This is the acting attorney general after Pam Bondi leaves.
You absolutely did. Now, the Epstein files, you'd agree, not handled well?
And I don't, first of all, I have never heard President Trump say that the Attorney General that anything that happened to her had anything to do with the Epstein files. And so look, the Epstein files has been a saga that's lasted for the past year. And what happened when the President signed the Transparency Act is the Department of Justice has now released all the files with respect to the Epstein saga. And the Attorney General Bondi and I appeared in front of Congress voluntarily a couple weeks ago to answer any questions they had. We have made every single congressman, senator available to come and see any document, redacted, unredacted, that they want. And so I think that to the extent that the Epstein files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, it should not be a part of anything going forward.
Oh, did the interim Attorney General coming in 30 days just saying that the Epstein files is over? Let's review a little history on this. I want to play a clip here. Let's listen to what Todd Blanche said before.
Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury, also not produced. Although the act allows for withholding for items necessary to keep secret in the interest of national security or foreign policy, no files are being withheld or redacted on that basis.
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, they're the men who abused the young women through Epstein's,
Look, we said in July, and it remains as true today as it was in July. If we had information, we meaning the Department of Justice, about men who abused women, we would prosecute them.
Oh, hold on. Rewind.
Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury, also not produced.
Why would he say that if that stuff was not present? If that stuff was not present in the files, he would simply say, we found no information pertaining to CSAM and child pornography. We found no information pertaining to murder but instead he says that was actually removed. Then he goes on a few months later and says, oh, never was in there. What changed? Now, here's another part. Remember we talked about influence ops. Social media influencers who received Epstein binders are now demanding that Todd Blanche and Harmeet Dillon be made the new attorney generals. See the pattern? Now, the other day, this came out. Kash Patel's FBI has filed a motion to reject discovery requests in the Seth Rich laptop case. This one right there. You can't release information pertaining to ongoing criminal investigations. Todd Blanche, if you go back to what he said in this video, right in the beginning, he only talks about it very, very short. I know this is Elfa's take, not necessarily mine, but listen what he says.
Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation.
Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. Two things that they're not being transparent on. Seth Rich, All of that information was rejected by Discovery. Why? Active federal investigation. Jeffrey Epstein. All information pertaining to active federal investigations. Todd Blanche literally just said it. That you're not going to see anymore. We released everything we're going to release. Why? Because all the other information is pertaining to active federal investigations. At least that's my theory. Now, what do those pertain to? There's a lot more here than just meets the eye. When you start to go into a lot of the weirdness that is happening right now in the world, you begin to understand that there's some things that are happening right now that are freaking crazy. All right, let me go in here. Oh, we're Astana, Kazakhstan this last weekend. No community notes on this video, by the way. That's not the sun peeking through. That is a craft in the clouds. And yes, it's very, very real. Also, this weekend in Indonesia, a vertically falling meteor. Very, very rare. And there it is, burning on fire after it landed. And nobody believes that it was a meteor. Again, no community notes. This was confirmed by the Indonesian Space Agency as a meteor. How many meteors do you know that land, ready? And are on fire and blowing up? Well, was there anything else that happened this weekend? Yeah, there was. Space debris falling from the sky all over the world this last weekend. Wait. So, and by the way, that's a satellite breaking up. Either there's some space wars going on, shit is being knocked out in space over our skies and falling back to the ground. Large spacecraft are seen hovering in the clouds. What the fuck is going on? You got disappearing scientists and military personnel tied to advanced research and projects, and the list continues to grow, and that comes directly from Representative Eric Burleson. Tim Burchett this last weekend came out and said, "We are not alone." Aliens exist. Yeah. Listen, this is an active U.S. congressman who's been briefed and read in on all of this. Listen to this.
Roswell, Area 51, Wright-Patterson down in Dayton, my home state of Ohio. We've been hearing about this stuff now for 70 years. That we have it, we don't have it. That we've re-engineered it, no, we haven't. I know you can't talk about much because you're an active member, but just give me a wink. Are we alone?
No, we're not. We're not
Holy,
alone.
Wait a minute. Guys, did we just break that? Wait a minute. Is that April Fool's today, Tim?
No, it's second. No, we are not alone.
We don't make all them moves.
Got to remember, Burchett is working directly with the Trump administration and Apollo Luma to release all of this information. He's helping with the wording on all of the declassification documents that they're trying to get out. And he just told you straight up to your face, we are not alone. He made another comment today in an interview that extraterrestrials are absolutely real. They have traveled across space to our planet and have made contact multiple times with humanity. Now we're seeing unusual fireballs come out of the sky, satellites and things that are falling directly onto the sky that look like they're blowing up and burning. We see UFO over Kazakhstan. What the hell's going on? Well, as Alpha has said, and as I've said, it always appears as if there's a timeline that everybody is trying to move towards, that there is a deadline coming up that has to be met. And what do I think that is? I think that what we're actually seeing is the United States Trump trying to secure global energy because we need it. We need the global energy supply for a reason. And the reason, I think, is to basically harness that energy for some type of weapons array that's meant to defend this planet from something that potentially is coming in the next few months or the next few years. All right, guys, if you want to support me, the way to do that is just go on over to redpills.tv, redpills.tv. Best way to support me over there. And oh my God, almost 3,000 people over there on Rumble watching. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Make sure if you're new there, go ahead and subscribe and give that thumbs up. I only see 643 thumbs up. Let's get to 1,000 real quick there on Rumble, guys. That helps. Go on over to redpills.tv. You can go and find different ways to support us from our sponsors as a support tab. Also, this week, Wednesday, I leave. I'm going to GART, the Great American Restoration Tour. Hope to see a lot of you guys there. Make sure you come up and say hi. That is going to be great. And then I'll let you guys know what's going on with the shows over the next few days. And then if you guys want to help support us directly, just a donation or anything like that, give.redpills.tv, give.redpills.tv, give.redpills.tv. Appreciate all the help, all the support. You guys are amazing. What an amazing time to be alive. And yes, I could probably do another hour discussing what we just talked about with the UFOs and the grand conspiracy. I'm going to save that for another night. Maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow with everything going on in the world. I think tomorrow's show will probably be a little bit longer too, just because obviously I'm out of town the rest of the week. But guys, I appreciate you. Much love, respect. God bless. Take care. Have a great night. Hope you guys have a great day, and watch out for what the Trump administration does over the next 12 to 15 hours. I think we're right on this one. 12 to 15 hours watch. You could possibly see one of the greatest military operations in human history, if it's successful, actually occur. Keep it cool. Keep it real. God bless.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hands on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our history was known, with pride in the rules that made us our own. There was a time, respect for the brave, for those who bled, for the lives they gave. Now the homeland burns to silent war. Truth is twisted, we can't ignore. Voice still calls, we the people will not fall. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil under, patriots rise. We are one, land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time when truth was clear, when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown. fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see. The silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a life's price. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time. There was a time. Now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!